world, let's chat it up. We're talking competitions, uniforms, and all of the above. It's the Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Moms, your podcast is on.
Do you guys want to hear about a character flaw? So this is episode 130 something. So if you've been with me for a while, we're friends now. And we can be vulnerable with each other. And so today I'm going to be a little vulnerable with you and tell you about a character flaw of mine. I have a mailbox that's not at my door, not at the end of the driveway. It's one of those community mailboxes where you have to walk to it or remember to stop at it when you drive past it, and you have to have a key. I am terrible about stopping. It feels like a chore to get the mail. I don't always have my key with me. I don't always have time. I'm not motivated to get my mail unless I know that I'm expecting something like money, or Amazon says that my package has been delivered and it's not sitting on my front porch. I just don't get my mail often, or often enough, because a while back, what are they called? It's not mailman. Our post woman, our postman, postal worker, woman, who seems very nice. All of the elderly people in our neighborhood are like, it's like part of their day, like part of their schedule to go walk down to the mailbox. I totally get it. Totally understand that lifestyle. Wish I had it sometimes. And they're always like gathered around the mailbox talking to the postwoman, and she stays and chats with them. It's very cute. When I drive by, like, they're friends. However, she and I are not friends. And here's how I know why. She has left us multiple notes in our mailbox saying, I need you to get your mail more often because we're running out of room. One time it was, hey, the holidays are coming up. There's increased mail. Please empty your mailbox as soon as you can, or as often as you can. One time I happened to be walking down to the mailbox or on a walk, and I grabbed my mail key and I was like, I'm going to get the mail. And she was delivering the mail as I was getting the mail. And it's always this like, oh, hey, like, which box are you? What's your address? And I tell her, and she's like, oh, insert address. And I instantly felt like I was in trouble. And she went on about how, like, we never get our mail. And I felt like, I'm like, well, like, we try. And she talked about how, like, she hates having to go up to our door and leave packages, and she would appreciate it if we collected our mail more often. Then here's the kicker. One time I went to get the mail and there was no mail in the mailbox. There was only a like little card from the post office saying, all of your mail is being held at the post office. Please come pick it up by this date. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And I think there was a note on there that was like, too much mail to fit in the mailbox. There was something there that was like, we have stopped delivering your mail to your mailbox. Please come to the post office to pick it up. So I go to the post office, and let me just say, the Castle Rock, Colorado post office, those postal workers are like the friendliest post workers you will ever meet. They are incredible. Like, I don't know what they're giving them or paying them or what to make them so nice. They are awesome. So no big deal. The post office is like 5 minutes from my house. So I wait in line and I give the woman my card, and she goes and gets my mail, and she comes back with one of those huge, like, deep bins that's like property of the US Postal Service. And it's this huge bin, and it's full of packages and letters, and magazines, oh my. And she looks at me, and she was not kidding. Like, they're all friendly at that post office, but I happen to get like the least friendly one. And she just kind of looks at me and she's like, you really need to get your mail more often. And I'm like, okay, I know. So now I'm afraid to get my mail, Or like I'm afraid that I'm going to bump into the post woman because I still don't always remember to get my mail. However, I noticed recently, I think we have a new post person. And I walked up to the mailbox one day and he was doing his mail thing and he greeted me super nice. And I was like, oh, I see our mail is in there. I'll just grab it. And he's like, yeah, well, tell me your address. And if I have anything, I'll give it to you. And I was like, oh, no, this is okay. It's okay. So because I'm afraid to like identify myself for fear of getting scolded. But I end up telling him and he's like, he didn't scold me or anything. He didn't say, I need you to get the mail. He was like, oh, cool. Like, you don't really have anything today, or I can't find it right now. And I'm like, hey, no worries. Like, there's probably nothing important in there anyway. So I'm wondering if there's like it's a fresh start. It's a new relationship. And there is no cure for this. There's no reminder or alarm or anything that's going to make me get my mail even once a week. I'm good for about once every other week. Where it gets me is when I'm not expecting a package, but I get packages and it's a whole thing. So there you go. There's my character flaw. I have like a million things like that where people are like, you really need to do that. Like, you need to sharpen your knives, Kristen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you and my parents. And my friend's like, it's important. I know. Who has time to sharpen their knives, though? My gosh. We're entrepreneurs over here. We're moving and a shaking. Like, we don't have time for the little things like getting our mail and picking up dog poop from our backyard. Jeez, leave us alone. I thought it would be fun to blatantly poke fun at the world of all-star cheerleading, this time in the form of listing out ways that all-star cheerleading is a cult. Now, this is meant to be in good fun. It's very tongue-in-cheek. I am a willing participant, a willing member of this cheer society. So please don't take me too seriously. Hopefully it'll make you laugh. It's not meant to be like, get out now. It's just mostly in jest. And honestly, I could explain all of these things away and why certain programs choose to do this. So here we go. I absolutely love callbacks, or what they call Easter eggs. You know, those little, if you know moments in movies and remakes and songs. And the cheer world has so many little things like that that are important to us, that are just specific to us. Things like hit 0 and 2 minutes and 30 seconds, not to mention the letters that are so important to teams and programs. I don't know a program that doesn't have some version of this. You know what I mean? Like G3FCA2A, OAFAAF, SE4L. You get it, right? That's why I started TCC Jewelry. At tccjewelry.com, we don't just sell jewelry. We create conversation starters, from bracelets to rings and necklaces for all ages and sizes, and even custom designs for teams and programs. TCC has you covered. There's even opportunity for fundraising and kickbacks for gyms. So basically, we want to make you look good and help you get to your nationals events. Whether you're a cheer parent, an athlete, or just a fan of looking amazing, TCC Jewelry is your go-to. Check it out at tccjewelry.com and enter code CheerMomPod for 15% off of your order. Check out tccjewelry.com and enter code CheerMomPod for 15% off your order. That's tccjewelry.com. Enter code CheerMomPod for 15% off your order. Have you ever met someone with a tattoo and asked them why they chose that specific tattoo? They probably had a story about how it's significant to them. I have 3 tattoos, and they all have a very deep and meaningful significance to me. And every time someone comments on one, I'm like, thanks. And then I give them like a 5-minute explanation about why it's important to me. Even if tattoos aren't your thing, I think that we all need little encouragements and things that are specific to us that remind us of the things we love most and the words that motivate us to keep going. And that's why I started TCC Jewelry. The necklaces, bracelets, and rings are simple and engraved with little words that have special meaning, like hit 0, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 1, 3, 5, 7, and more. And check out the new collections like the Faith Collection and introducing the Dance Collection, baseball, softball, and volleyball collections. Get something special for yourself or that special athlete or coach in your life today by visiting tccjewelry.com and enter coupon code CheerMomPod for 15% off your order. That's tccjewelry.com and enter coupon code CheerMomPod for 15% off. Six signs that all-star cheerleading is a cult. Now, first let me say, do I think your 6-year-old is in a cult? No, I do not. Second, let me say that a cult doesn't have to look like drinking Kool-Aid and living on a compound. In fact, one of the definition of a cult is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. We can pull from that and be like, does cheerleading have practices that other people find strange? Why, yes. Yes, we do. And so many organizations operate in this way that people are like, that's a cult. Not just cheerleading. It could be other youth sports can be considered a cult. I'm a Disney adult. MLMs are considered cult like. CrossFit is, I don't care what you guys say, CrossFit's a cult, but we love it. We admire it. I love you people who do CrossFit. I don't know how you do that. And then in the context of cheerleading, there are so many gyms and programs that operate in a healthy way without all of the demands, without some of the polarizing things that we kind of laugh at, kind of find gross, but put up with anyway. I would say most prep and rec programs, no matter what gym they're affiliated with, are pretty relaxed, and I wouldn't consider a cult. But here are some signs that your elite all-star cheer program is a cult. First up, this idea that the gym is your real family. I am all for community and having lifelong friends from cheerleading. If we've got to spend this much time together, we might as well be friends. We might as well be close. We might as well enjoy each other. But the last I checked, my family and my community don't charge me $10,000 a year for my loyalty. You know, there's this idea of we're your family and the letters that gyms have and the sayings and some of the stuff that they pull that they take very seriously, and they really demand loyalty, which leads me to the second point. Another sign that All-Star Cheer is a cult. They have your loyalty. Okay, we're family. Maybe your family, like your blood family sucks. That's totally fine. There's plenty of us who have that kind of family, right? Well, if you consider your gym your family, then leaving or switching gyms or programs is considered like a criminal offense. This is the one thing that I really don't like about elite all-star cheerleading is that, like I said before, that dark side of loyalty. It's like, you're loyal. We want you to be loyal to us. You can't go to any other gym. You can't be seen with other gyms, whatever. But then if you leave, no matter what the reason is, no matter if you leave on good terms, suddenly you're dead to them or there's like bad blood. I've seen that across so many programs, and sometimes people are right in feeling betrayed or feeling left behind or relationships are severed, but sometimes we just need to wish people well and support them no matter what. And that's what I love about, if you heard the episode with Steven and Maggie from Flyer Athletics, they talk about like their smaller gym. They don't have a world's team. They had an athlete that sort of outgrew their gym, went up the road to cheer athletics. And guess what? They take a picture with her at every competition that they're together with her at. Coaches and owners are there cheering her on, being her biggest fan. And I recently met that athlete's mom and she teared up. She says, these owners have been nothing but supportive of us. They didn't feel betrayed. They didn't take it personally when we left. And that's the thing, is that cheerleading, we make it so personal. And I get it. Like I said one time to my husband, like, we can't leave. That's like a punishment to me. And I couldn't believe that came out of my mouth. But it's so personal, and I think that's where we get in trouble. So many times people ask me, why do you think cheer moms are quote unquote crazy? Why are cheer moms so emotional? It's because it's so, among other reasons, it's so personal. And I really think that the leadership in a lot of these elite programs promote this idea of being personally and so emotionally invested in what we're doing that it becomes unhealthy. There's nothing wrong with being invested and being emotional when your daughter does poorly or when your daughter does spectacularly. But I think we have to pull back a little bit and not make it part of our identity, because that our kids feed off of that. And then I would think that they start thinking that their identity is wrapped up in cheer and whether or not they do well in cheer. Okay, this is supposed to be a funny episode and I'm getting all philosophical about it. Next, don't question the coach. Don't ask questions. How many times have you heard from maybe an immature coach about, don't question my tactics, and have shut you down if you have a legitimate question? Now, I don't remember really ever asking about like why a routine was the way that it was or why they picked the flyers the way that they did. That's just me. And let me just stop here. Some people have a propensity or maybe predisposed based on their personality to be drawn to cult-like environments, to desire that kind of structure and can get sucked in. Me, I am some people. I am a rule follower. I don't question things, so I'm not like the best example. And maybe I'm doing this episode like out of my own trauma. I didn't question things. There were cheer parents that would be like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing stay to play. And I would be frustrated with them because I'm like, dude, like, just don't make waves. Like, just follow the rules. Don't question it. That's contributing to the cult-like atmosphere. And then they would get what they wanted for advocating for themselves. And then I'd be resentful because they got to stay at their own hotel. The whole thing. Another sign of a cult is they're always asking for more money. We're over here funding a small nation with what we pay for cheer fees and travel fees. And just when you think it's over and you've paid for the practice wear, you've paid for the bow, you've paid for the uniform, you've paid for the shoes, you've paid for the backpack, you've paid for the flights, then suddenly you get a message from the team rep in the group chat saying, we're all doing a team bonding in Paris. We're all going to Disney World for our team bonding, and it's mandatory. We're doing a team gift for nationals, and it's going to be a big yellow duck plated in pure gold, and everyone needs to contribute $150. And you don't want to be the butthead whose kid is the only one who doesn't have it. Like, we all want our kids to fit in, right? And even if you are that parent that's like, my kid doesn't need that, I'm not doing it. A, either your kid's going to give you trouble over it, or B, probably the more likely is that another parent's just going to cover for what your kid's gift cost, and they're going to get it anyway. And then you're still the bad guy. Again, as a people pleaser, I don't like being the bad guy. Maybe you're okay with that, but I never wanted my daughter to be without. And the one or two times that she was the only one without like the personalized cup or pillowcase or something, she's like, Mom, like, why don't I have one? Oh, and I never skipped it again. You might be in a slightly toxic environment if there's the what we call push through propaganda, where it's like, you're fine, put some ice on it, tape it up, and we got to keep going for the sake of the team. And that's, I'm all about being there for the team. And I talk about don't miss practices and don't cost the team. If one person is out, then it costs the whole team. But I think that there are places that take it to the next level and overlook the individual in terms of like mental health, physical health for the sake of the team. And that's just not a good place to be. I really thought that with COVID, the days of showing up to practice sick were over, but we just kind of went right back to, okay, do you have a fever? Take some Tylenol, maybe put on a mask and get back out there. And I do think that there's some value to that. I think that there are kids, I was one of them, that can be hypochondriacs or exaggerate what's really happening. Like, oh, I can't, my arm hurts. I can't do practice today. And it can be hard to differentiate between like, are you really hurt or are you unmotivated? There's a lot of coach TikToks that are like that. It's like, I can't, my arm hurts. But as soon as they're presented with something that they want to do, they're like doing backflips and suddenly their arm doesn't hurt anymore. So I get that. But I think especially at the older level, as you get more advanced and as you get older, the kids do get more competitive and it's easier to doctrinate them with the idea of not listening to their body and pushing through for the sake of the team, or even because they want to be there and they want to push through. But I can tell you that there are adults on the other side of being an all-star cheerleader that have permanent issues that are like, it was not worth it. It was not worth pushing through. So athletes, I know that it feels big and it feels real right now, but listen to your body. I think it's okay to test the limit, but you got to know what the limit is and you've got to speak up and raise your hand when you know you've reached your limit. And I think that we're likely to, or more likely to get our coaches' support when they see us putting the work in and they see us working hard and showing up and not always complaining or wanting to get out of things. Gosh, this did get serious pretty quickly. And lastly, the idea of Big Brother is always watching. We're a very social media centric community here in cheerleading. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard from cheer parents that are like, yeah, we told our coaches that we weren't going to be at practice because she had a school thing or it was unavoidable or pre-planned. But really, I'm just letting her go to XYZ that isn't considered an excused absence. And they're like, but I can't post about it because her coaches are watching. Totally legit. I salute you. It's like, oh man, that's genius. And cheer moms too. Cheer moms will watch and then guilt you or gossip, more likely gossip behind your back about like, oh, well, they decided to take a spring break. And so now the team is behind. Guys, it's not, we all need to be committed to practice. Full stop. We need to be committed to what we've committed to. There was our first year of cheer. Oh my gosh, I will never forget this. Unfortunately, cheerleading happens during the winter months and travel can be rough. We had a competition in Denver in the middle of a really, really bad snowstorm. And one of the moms texted and was like, yeah, I think we're going to stay home from the competition tomorrow. And we didn't have a backup. Like the girls wouldn't have been able to compete if this person missed. It was like that dire. I don't remember why, but maybe the coaches like didn't have a plan B to like adjust the choreography, you know? So the mom was just like nonchalant. She's like, yeah, we're not going to drive in this. She's not going to be at the competition tomorrow. That might work at like a baseball game, but that no work for all-star cheerleading. And I was like, oh, no, you don't. We're going to pick you up. Where do you live? And that's what we did. We drove this mom and her two daughters that we didn't even know to the cheer competition because we were not going to let the team suffer because like they didn't feel understand they didn't feel safe driving, but like everyone else got there and anyway. So I'm a big proponent of making sacrifices for the team. We've missed things. We've missed things over the summer, like family reunions, because there was cheer camp. I was in all kinds of activities in high school. My siblings were in a very serious marching band in high school, and my parents missed all kinds of things. There is always going to be like, we can't, we have cheer. We can't, we have football. We can't, we have baseball. That's like a season of your life. And hopefully you have a supportive family that's like, yeah, we totally get it. And we shouldn't guilt people for taking time off or vacations when it's appropriate. It's a tough line to draw because yeah, I've been annoyed with people for like, dude, like Worlds is in 2 weeks and you're gonna miss 3 practices. Like that's not cool. But also like the summertime should be more relaxed and people shouldn't feel guilty for missing. There was one time my daughter was injured and she had surgery right before UCA. And I called my friend who wasn't in cheer and I was like, I'm trying to decide if we're still going to fly to Orlando after her surgery. And I couldn't even get the sentence all the way out. And my friend was like, what? No, that's crazy. That's crazy. But it's not. We want to be there for the team. The doctor made the decision for us anyway. He's like, no, you cannot fly this close to post surgery. So we couldn't. But there was a question of like, her teammates were expecting like, but you're still going to come with us to Florida, right? Like, there's just not a question. You can call it tight knit, you can call it a cult, you can call it whatever you want. But this expectation to do things that in any other setting you wouldn't have to do, I think we should question that. Man, this got like dark and serious really quick. And I meant for it to be funny. I meant for it to be like, oh my God, that's so true. We have these rituals and these traditions that are cult-like that people are like, what? I picture I have brought people that I know that are close to me that have never been in the cheer world. I've brought them to cheer competitions and they walk in and it's like deer in headlights and they're like, what is this world? What we do is not normal. It's very cool. And obviously I'm still here, but this is a whole world unto itself. So maybe it's less about tongue-in-cheek signs that All-Star Cheerleading is a cult, and maybe these signs of, hey, you might be like in a toxic place, and it might be time to reevaluate what your values are, or how you're going to stand up to the system, or what kind of compromise you're going to make, and what kinds of sacrifices that you're willing to make on either side. Are you willing to make sacrifices in your personal life for cheerleading, which many people do? We had a guest on the podcast not long ago that they are living in Miami so that the athlete can live her dream of being on her dream team. And that's a family sacrifice. And on the other side, deciding what you're not going to sacrifice just to be a good soldier. There is value to being a teammate and a great team player. There is also value to personal boundaries and deciding where you're not going to compromise. And I would encourage you that you need to decide those things before the season starts, because you can't all of a sudden be in the middle of the competition season and say, no, we're not going to compromise on that. Look ahead. Don't leave your team or your gym hanging, and you might be able to avoid some of these difficult conversations and some of these sticky areas. Gosh, I guess I need to work on my comedic writing and work on my stand-up act, because that was not as funny as I thought it would be. But I hope it was valuable to you. We're in a cult. We're in this very niche environment, and I know that so many of us wouldn't have it any other way. Now, would we? See you next time, guys. Remember, it's just cheerleading.
What up, party people? This is Jason Larkins, host of the Let's Talk Cheer podcast, and I've teamed up with Kristen Wheeler of the Cheer Mom podcast and Dan Cotton of the Cheer Biz podcast.
That's right. Hey, everybody, Kristen here. We know that you love cheer, so why not dive into more perspectives? Tune into my podcast, the Cheer Mom podcast, for cheer issues spoken from the parent's perspective. Then head over to Dan's podcast, the Cheer Biz podcast, to learn from a gym owner on how to run a successful cheer business. And of course, don't miss the Let's Talk Cheer podcast featuring Jason Larkins, the one that we all know and love, where they talk about cheer from a coach's perspective.
Which means whether you're a coach, a cheer parent, or a gym owner, we've got you covered. Find all 3 podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and stay tuned for new episodes each week.